sometimes if you're working on something, it's good to take a break from it. So if you're just like sitting here and grinding this out for like, I don't know, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever, it's sometimes good to just like kind of take a mental pause and play something else. Maybe something fun, just like a chop exercise, and then come back to the technique exercise that you're working on. So that way your brain doesn't just go into autopilot and stop focusing on what you're doing. So if you keep switching things up like every 5 to 10 minutes and kind of come back and forth between things, that can help out not only your own playing, but also the students that you're working with. But again, it kind of depends on attention span, like age, etc. So like younger students, you might need to jump back and forth between things faster than students who are like older, like in DCI or WGI or whatever. If you have a problem with slicing where you're drumming and it's kind of like looking like this, one of the ways that you can fix it is just doing one hand at a time, holding a stick straight up and down, and just kind of play accent taps, 16th notes, whatever you need to get that feeling down of moving just straight up and down. Eventually you'll be able to kind of like move the stick away from it and still be able to go straight up and down after you practice it. So that way you don't have like this like woo oval approach when you're playing, or the slicing approach where it kind of comes in at an angle. My nose is only slightly itchy this morning. Usually it's itchier. Anyone else get that when you drum? Whenever I drum, my nose gets itchy. It's weird. So traditional grip, it's all about that rotation of the wrist. That's where all of your accents, your taps, etc. What your fingers do is mostly irrelevant. You're not sitting there and like fingering in these notes and then like finger right here. I've heard some people say that they do that, but when you're playing like rudimental, that's like very rarely what you're doing. You're not gonna get power that way. You're gonna get real inconsistencies with your hands, etc., etc. So it's all about that rotation, not about what your fingers are doing. You're not doing this. These two fingers, your ring and your pinky, are just there for support and to kind of like help guide the stick so that way it doesn't swing back and forth. Ghost notes are where you take an accent and you fake it. So you stop yourself, but you play the grace note. So all you hear is the low note playing instead of both the low and the high on a flam. You can do this with a flam drag, like. The phlebotomist tomorrow is gonna be very happy with this when I donate some platelets. And be like, yeah, we could definitely find that one. Although I've had like phlebotomists like miss this vein. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm a drummer. I got very pronounced veins and you missed that? Do you line up the thumb with your forearm, which is what most groups teach, so that way it gets the stick further out? Or do you line up the back of the wrist with the forearm, which makes it so you actually have to extend your arm out a little bit more, and it gets like kind of like a weirder angle with it, but it gives you a fuller sound with the rotation when you have this flat up against the forearm rather than having the thumb with the forearm. Again, there's a billion ways to play, and I know people like to argue on the internet about, you're playing the wrong way, you need to do it this way. Not really. You need to study more. The sticks that I use are actually heavy sticks. So these are Hardeman hammers and they're double taped. And so it makes it so that I can really work on chops while doing this. So like if I go to like performance sticks, so just like normal Hardemans, and especially if they're not double taped, like I prefer, it feels so easy because I've been working on my chops with these extra heavy sticks. They're about 44% heavier than my normal sticks. I weighed them on one of the streams, and it makes it so that I can work on my chops and whatnot. But hopefully all the play-alongs on the website help with your practicing. Rim shot for extra flavor. You gotta put that little seasoning on it like Salt Bae. Why does he do that? Why does he like goes off the forearm? That's weird. Not judging, but if I were to do that, that'd be weird. Same thing. Right, both, left, both, alternate. And we're gonna keep doing this for the next 12 hours. In all honesty though, I have done 8 on a hand for a few hours straight because I took a lesson with Jeff Queen, the snare drummer, and, well, percussionist. He wanted me to adjust my technique, so I spent a few hours with 8 on a hand, just adjusting my technique. Came back for the lesson a couple days later and significantly improved. Had an experience in high school. I was like supposed to just keep time, so just like with the beat, do that. And I was told to watch the drum major and hit with their ictus, with their conducting. And so I would watch them, and I was trying to be so precise with them with it that like every time I would hit, it would be right when they did the ictus, but it would throw them off, and then that would throw me off. And then so we just like spiraled into nothing. And so I had somebody yell at me and say that I was like terrible and like was really bad at it. And that to me was like fuel that turned into a fire that motivated me to, I'm gonna like get really serious about this and see how good I can get with it so that never happens again. And so when I was practicing, previously I maybe did like, I don't know, 30 minutes a week or something like that. But after that moment, I started practicing like several hours a day. And then that grind led to the next year being like the section leader, and then eventually center snare. And then eventually I taught there. And then eventually I got a scholarship at, for college, etc. Like it all kind of like just progressed because of that negative experience. So you've got maybe 15 minutes to practice that rudiment and you want to speed it up. Well, there's a tool that you can actually use for that. So it's called fast, slow, fast, or the tool that is slow, fast, slow. You start at your fast tempo. Let's say it's 120. It'll slow down all the way to 40, and then it'll go all the way back up to 120, your starting tempo. Now the opposite is the case for slow, fast, slow. So it'll start at 40. It'll go to wherever your fast tempo is, like 120, and then it'll go slow back down again. And so this might take you, in this instance, 10 minutes to get through that, but that 10 minutes is just like spent refining. It goes one beat at a time, all the way up to whatever your fastest speed is, which in this case is 140, and then it holds it here for 4 measures, and then it slows it back down 1 click at a time, all the way until you get down to 40 again. So this is another great way that you can actually just work on refining like a rudiment or a groove, like on drum kit or whatever. You can find it at jaredoleary.com/drum. This is right on that edge of too fast. So let's go faster. I like to chop out at the end of these streams. It just gives me some data for things I can work on for next time, but it's also just a fun way to end it. Push your hands and your brain to think and play faster.